Is it leading or lead in lines? Hello, I've come to the Yorkshire Dales for a few days landscape shooting, but I've set myself a little task this time. I want to find subjects and focal points and views where there's definite leading lines taking you into the picture. So it can be rocks, it can be walls, whatever, but it's got to have a definite lead in, something that draws the eye into the picture up to that main focal point, or even becomes the main focal point itself. I've got a few locations in mind, so let's see if I can achieve my task. So first up, on this bright sunny morning here in the Yorkshire Dales, I'm up on the Windskill Stones. There's this lovely lone tree here. Also got these lovely rocks here, which are going to be used as a foreground. But again, I'm particularly looking for the rocks that create a leading line, because they are kind of following from here, going towards the tree. They're all kind of pointing that way, so they are creating a nice leading line here, so they're going to work really well. Sun's out, really nice day. Could have done a bit more cloud in the sky, but there you go. I always say that, don't I? The only thing I've got to worry about is because the sun is slightly behind me rather than to the side of me, just to worry of getting my own shadow in the shot, so I'm going to have to be careful of that, and perhaps stand a bit further back and use a longer lens just to stop myself getting in the shot. I'm going to head down there and see which ones work best down there. Well, after about 10 minutes moving back and forth trying to get this this viewpoint as I want it, I finally got something I'm happy with. I'm going for the vertical format to emphasize those leading lines that I'm trying to create here with a tree at the top of the frame. I've gone for a 50mm equivalent lens, purely just to try and keep my shadow out of the shot. If I go any closer, the sun's catching me, and I'm getting my own shadow over the rocks, which is not what I want. So it's not the ideal conditions. I would have preferred the sun to be slightly round to my right, but it's just that wrong time of the year. I've got a nice lead-in effect with these stones as much as I can this morning, and so it's looking pretty good. It's getting the effect that I want. Now, as I was heading back, as I come up onto the slightly higher ground where there's a continuation of the rocks, I've actually found a view where I can go wider without getting myself in the shot so much. So there's got some really nice lines here, so I've gone for a slightly wider angle, equivalent to a 35mm lens. Tree's obviously smaller in the frame, but really getting a nice sweep in leading lines here now. Well, I was heading for my next location, but I've climbed up this hill. I'm looking for a pathway with walls on either side and a barn and some trees. I can't find it anywhere, not the one I was looking for. I've gone wrong somewhere. I thought I looked it up on the map. Sheep don't even seem to know where it is. So I'm just doubling back now, heading back. See if I can find it a different way, but otherwise I'm gonna have to scrap this location. Well, I still haven't found the location I was looking for, but rather than going away empty-handed from this shoot, I've found this really nice wall here snaking through the landscape. So I thought I'd do this shot instead as the leading lines version from here. Unfortunately, because of the angle, I've lost the hillside up the top there, where it's got all the snow, but I'm getting some nice polarized effect because the sun's off to my sides here. So I'm really getting in nice and tight here with a wide angle lens, equivalent to a 24mm, and really making the most. So the wall is actually the focal point. There's no real focal point in the distance there, so it's all about the shape of this wall. Better than nothing anyway. Well, I think I know where I went wrong at that last location. I took the wrong road, but I checked the map, and I think I'll try that again, possibly this afternoon or even tomorrow. I think it's more of an afternoon view anyway, so I can wait till then. But my next location is this lane just off the village of Horton in Ribblesdale. Now I'm double checked that this is the right one, so fingers crossed on this. Well, I found my spot along the lane here. There's actually two views I'm going to be doing. One here which is a bit more difficult because it's looking into the light, and then one bit further back down looking back this way with the sun behind me. But both of them are using the wall and the gravel track as the lead into the shot. We've got some really nice trees on the hillside there, which is our main focal point. So we've got the walls on either side. It's got a slight curve just at this point here, which I'm really trying to emphasize, and that's taking the eye all the way down the picture to the main set of trees, and even beyond, because it goes off to the right round there. And so looking back the other way now, again using the wall and the gravel track to lead into the distance. We haven't got so much of a prominent focal point in the distance there, and it's plain sky, so it's quite bland, but the effect is there nonetheless. Determined to get a slightly better view looking with the sun behind me. I've seen this the mountain, I think it's Penwick End over there on the right hand side. It's been on my view all the way up there, disappearing behind the hills and that, but just as I'm coming back down the lane, it's come back into view, and you've got a nice set of trees up there. So I've found this other alternative view with the wall leading in from the left, and then the other wall leading up to the trees and the mountain up there. So again, that's my lead in, but I think this probably provides a slightly better viewpoint than the slightly bland view up the hill there. Well, I'm over at Ribblehead now, just down the road from the Ribblehead Viaduct, and you can't come over to this area without doing this lovely derelict cottage that's amazingly still standing here, but it's a really nice feature in this landscape here. But again, rather than just shooting it straight on as the cottage, I'm stepping back a few yards and trying to incorporate this wall into the shot as my lead in, just as I've been doing. And so it just adds an extra interest to the shot, extra feature, and provides that lead-in line to the cottage as a foreground complement. And so next I've come down to Dent Head Viaduct, which is just down the road from Ribblehead. And this is a good example of using, again, the dry stone wall in my composition. There are obviously a lot of dry stone walls in Yorkshire Dales, so it's good to make use of them as a lead-in line. And here particularly because although we've got the fantastic view of the viaduct and the derelict barn down there and the mountains in the background, the light's very flat. There's blue sky above there. I say the light's flat, there's no definition. It's all a bit hazy down there, so to be honest, it's not the best conditions to be shooting this in. But by tilting the camera down a bit and including the wall here, not only is it acting as that great leading line going from right of the frame down to the left and onto the viaduct, but by tilting the camera down to include it, it's also allowing me to remove most of the empty sky that's not really doing anything for the picture up there. So it's really adding to the picture and probably saving the day here by adding that extra foreground, that extra lead-in line, that extra dynamic feature, and bringing this shot alive when otherwise it's quite a flat looking view. So I'm finishing off with some leading lines with a slight difference here at the end of the first day. I've come up onto these rocks here, which are just over to the left of Ribblehead Viaduct, you can see in the distance there. Amazing shaped rocks all along here. but I've chosen this one in particular because of the actual lines it's got created within its rock. They're leading lines coming from the camera out to the distance, taking the viewer's eye on towards my distant view there, which is Penwygent. I think that's the mountain up there. That's my distant focal point, but it's the lines created within the rock. It's not just foreground, it's the direction of the lines that are creating that lead-in effect, which I've been trying to get all day. So yeah, it's a nice one to finish the day off with.